Oh, come on. That amount of diapers is just ridiculous. You're going to need a lot more. Cobra for this one actually showed off an intriguing premise with Hana getting close with all of her designated mothers and just being cool with Momoko. Yeah, it was pretty obvious what this episode was going to be all about, and yet they didn't spoil any major twists from it. In short, yeah, this was a lot better than the cold opener from the last episode with the kind of sort of spoilery fairies or whatever that was. So good stuff, and Momoko's faces here were hilarious. The episode proper opened with the Ojamajo still not entirely sure on how to get their new toy to work, considering that they skipped out on most of the tutorial for it. Fortunately, Majorine just came in and off-screen gave them the rest of the tutorial. Well, okay, but that felt just a little superfluous. I mean, she already had another reason to be there, so why even point out that the Ojamajo didn't totally grasp how to use the book? I don't know, it just feels like they're filling in a plot hole that really didn't need that much filling in. Anyway, as for what the guard lady was actually there for... Napalm! No, it turned out to be a ton of quote-unquote essentials that the queen had gathered up for Hana. I mean, sure, a bed is naturally important, but does this kid really need these many toys? Your tax dollars at work, folks. Also, if you're gonna give her all of this stuff, maybe also consider how these grade schoolers are supposed to move it all in. Later, they of course need to discuss how they were going to run their bakery and take care of Hana at the same time, which you'd think would have been one of the first things they discussed after taking her back in the last episode, but whatever. The obvious solution was just to treat it like a job, which to be fair is basically what childcare is, and take shifts. They also smartly decided to make journal entries in order to keep track of Hana's current condition. And they'd be able to do this with their handy-dandy cookbook. Not as convenient as an old witch's tome that apparently has a hiragana keyboard. Like, okay, obviously, this is very blatant product placement, and I get that. And to be fair, it isn't bad integration of it as a significant plot point. I do, however, have to raise an eyebrow over the fact that this cookbook that they in-story got from an ancient witch, who they also established used a different language, somehow had an electric screen with a keyboard written in the basic language of our heroines and their target audience.
The answer is don't think about it.
Well, confusing toy etiquette aside, and after they had Hazuki and Aiko pose as Hana's parents again, the Ojamajo were able to have a little playtime with Hana. At one point, she started to say uma uma, which the subtitles didn't explain, but I think she was trying to say umai, which means yummy, or in this case, she was saying yum yums, so basically she was hungry. However, a language barrier and an experience with the kid gave Momoko the wrong idea. Yeah, that's certainly the face of a horse that has a hand stuck up its ass. Still, if the subtitlers didn't catch that, then it was understandable that Momoko missed it. However, it didn't stop her from feeling left out. And I will say, I like this direction for Momoko in this episode, as while it's another situation where she's the odd one out, it's not due to cultural differences or anything that serious, but simply because she's coming in late to the series. As a result, it is a different conflict that she does want to overcome, as understandably she's gotten tired of being put in this sort of situation so much. Anyway, she picked up on the very obvious point that Hana saw the other Ojamajo as her mothers, so she decided to be motherly. Thus she started her journey with a little research that, for whatever reason, they decided to play the show's opening to. Epic reading! Yeah, if this was supposed to be like a joke where it's supposed to be a subversion of expectations, then it kind of fell flat in my opinion, when they just held on this shot of Momoko reading for so long with the epic music. Like, you just have to be snappier with these sorts of jokes where the idea is that nothing exciting is happening in spite of the external elements suggesting otherwise. Conversely, a surreal joke that actually kind of worked for me was some of the nonsense in these books. Momoko, are you sure you didn't just borrow a bunch of those really crappy little self-help books? Even better were her parents' reactions to seeing their daughter get engrossed in this hacky crap. Also, rather fortunate that they didn't see her in her Ojama outfit, which she went back and forth between rather quickly just to make a pillow look like Hana, which I would normally say is being kind of wasteful, But I think that was kind of the point to show how Momoko was obsessing over all of this. Like, good job measuring the exact angles to hold a baby there. Now, maybe you shouldn't throw them up in the air like pizza dough. But yeah, absurd comedy like this is what I live for, as well as maybe a few dad jokes. Come in already! Fortunately, before anyone called in Hansen, Momoko clarified things with her parents. This led to a pretty good little heartwarming scene that would have taken place after the show's commercial break, so it was actually appropriately timed after the zaniness of her baby rituals. But yeah, they ended up asking the important questions like whether or not she was ready for the responsibilities of taking care of a small and developing life, and they did not sugarcoat anything. That said, I feel like some adults should be watching this more than the kids, really.
Let's have a kid in the back. You guys high right now?
Bye cams have ruined me. Anyway, after a cute and funny little montage where Momoko really got into the baby headspace to the point that she tasted baby formula, ew, her turn to take care of Hana finally arrived. Of course, her ultimate goal was to get Hana to recognize her as her mama by the end of the day, so as their first activity together, they tried some origami.
Gatai! Hi! Uma!
And if you separate again, a bunch of Trojans are gonna come out and kill everyone. Though I guess brown could also be seen as the color of chocolate, which led to Hana almost eating the paper. Fortunately, Momoko stopped her, and to some degree, I do think those weird self-help books helped a little by encouraging some assertive childcare methods. I mean, sure, you could say that she's being too strict here, but by that same token, you could also argue that she shouldn't be soft either, like maybe feeding the kid too much of her. Where were you even keeping those? But yeah, predictably enough, Hana got a tummy ache just like Momoko said she would, and yet she was still surprised when it happened, and yet that wasn't even the most awkward part of this whole scene. Okay, couple of things. One, should you be saving this stuff for after Hana is better? And two, why are you having Aiko be the one to say this? Like, among all of the Ojamajo, she's usually one of the more level-headed ones alongside Hazuki. Plus, isn't she the one who knows that kids make mistakes, like her, and how that did kind of lead to her parents' divorce? And sure, she felt bad for it afterwards, but in this case, why not just let Momoko run away ashamed on her own because she would have known that she had screwed up? Like, again, it just feels like there's some very superfluous elements to this episode. Anyway, Oppu, who had been observing Moko's struggles throughout the episode, managed to track her down, and related with her, being also someone who wasn't initially able to bond with Hana due to her busy idol schedule. Eventually, of course, she did find her own unique way of expressing her affection for their daughteru that Momoko would eventually find too. From there, the elder Ojamajo managed to deliver some firm but encouraging words to Momoko through their new toy that was effectively used in the scene, so again, at least this thing wasn't feeling intrusive throughout this episode. And with that, we ended with Momoko apologizing to Hana and accepting that Momo's close enough to Mama anyways, right? This was a really good episode with some weird elements to it. Like, on the one hand, I do think it was a well-conceived tale of Momoko learning the responsibilities of becoming a mother to Hana. It's just that it also had some kind of awkward moments that made it a little weird at times. Considering that she was the one new actual main character this season, it does make sense that Momoko would feel like the odd witch out. I mean, not really in regards to those cultural issues, I mean, that's a different kind of forms altogether, but more in the meta sense in that she does have to do a lot of catch up with stuff like bonding with Hana. Thus, this was an episode that pretty much needed to happen, and thankfully got done ASAP just as Hana returned to the care of the Ojamajo. It led to some decent character development, with her actually coming to understand the weight of proper childcare, as well as leading to some pretty funny jokes. Yeah, not all of them landed, but what did were some of my favorite kinds of jokes. Even the incorporation of the new toy wasn't bad. I mean, yeah, it was distracting at times, and they might have rolled around it for that final act with being such an important plot element, but I don't think that was necessarily my biggest issue with that scene. It was more that it just kind of felt rushed, and the choice of who they had lead the anti-Momoko stuff felt off. It wasn't bad, just again rushed and weird in its execution. Regardless, I did like Ompu's part in resolving the conflict, as she would relate with Momoko as a fellow Hana noob. And overall, I still think this is a great episode for most of its humor and good development for Momoko. While researching childcare is a very sensible call, it can never truly make up for actual experience. Thanks for watching, and if you're trying to do your own research, well, I think our videos are a little bit informative. We've got something new coming out almost every day, and some longer form analysis coming soon. Look forward to whatever comes next. Until then though, farewell for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I'm just gonna get some reading done. Normal reading! Jeez.